Blur's in the game.
All right. Welcome back to the Geek Set Podcast, the only podcast that blends hip-hop culture and geek culture together. I'm your boy Deuces, and this is One-on-One with Deuces, the place where I speak with creators, curators, and people that you should know. And right now, we got somebody that I'm pretty sure you were arguing in her comments about something that she said, or you are a huge fan of her hot takes, but we have the one and only fantastic Frankey. I don't know. Do we call you Fanboy Fighter? I guess. Like, what do you
call me
Frankey?
You could call me Frankey. I feel like Fantastic Frankey. I initially made it to sound like a superhero name, and thank you. Yeah. And but now it's like becoming like I've become like the Punisher. Like I'm like an anti-hero more than like I came out with good intentions, but now I roll up in the chat and people are like, oh no.
Well, because I mean, there's you go hard for the things that you love, and that's what we love about you. So on my platform, we do make sure that we give people their flowers while they're here. So I want to take a moment to just talk about just the way, like your mission and the way that you approach things. So not only are you knowledgeable of the source material and everything like that it's a given, but like I love how you encourage the conversation. Like you may have a hot take or you may say something, but like in your videos, it often has a conversation to it, right? And then you do a really great job at responding to it. But like in this blurred culture, I love your approach to how you do your interviews. I love how you are all about diversity and inclusion. You are not scared to amplify and talk about, the things that need to be addressed. You'll talk about things that you love, but you're like, well, hey, we're not going to gloss over this fact. And I just love anytime somebody is living in that I am going to be me no matter what, but I'm not trying to be problematic, but we need to address this. So like your approach, and often like there's certain people that I idolize or that I get inspired by. So when I see your interviews, you the Blurred Girl, Angelique Roche, like there's a lot of y'all that, Cheyenne the Geek, that I'm like, yo, when I watch y'all, like I going into this interview, I was like, all right, I got to make sure I'm on point because she does this. So I got to make sure. So it's like, I just want to let you know, man, I know you hear from the Blur community, but from my fan base as well, or my supporters to you, man, we appreciate everything that you bring to this culture, that you bring to pop culture, to Blur culture. And we are 100% supportive of your mission. And we want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's really nice. It's funny. You named like all the women that I looked up to and really inspired me to get out there, because there's really like 4 of us, the 4 you mentioned. And so that's the whole point, right? To be comfortable, to be used to hearing voices like ours out there talking how we normally talk, because I think so often we're left out of the conversation. And it's funny, you talked about my style, but I feel like my style is the nature of like comic book fans. Like the whole point is we read a piece of literature and we're now debating and discussing what we read. And I'm still doing that, on a platform, but I think it feels hotter, it feels wilder because of who I am. You know what I mean? Like, I feel
when I say your style, what I recognize is not an echo chamber, right? Because we'll often be in these spaces or these conversations, and it's a whole lot of people like, oh yeah, I agree. Oh yeah, I agree. And you're not afraid to have the opposing decision, right? And then, because like me and you, one thing that we share is that we have a deep love for DC. Right. So it's been a very hard few, years, because DC they haven't been doing us right. But you know what I'm saying? So, but like, there's a lot of people who won't admit that, right? So where you're like, look here, DC, I need you to get it back on track. Like you calling DC out on it, but then when DC get a win, you are exactly the same amount of loud about it. Like, yeah, y'all thought we was down, but look at us now. Like, so I love
people
that.
be forgetting. I think the DC thing is, like you said, people exist in an echo chamber, and they're so agreeable that I feel like we're losing free thought.
Yeah.
And I think because of the disparity in the multimedia projects of Marvel and DC, people are forgetting how good DC is.
Yeah.
And so the conversation isn't even. People are just like, Marvel is the greatest ever, and they can't see any flaws because that's the only piece of media that they have in terms of comic book media that's decent.
Yeah.
And I think a big reason why is because Kevin Feige is a fan.
Yeah.
And now that we have a fan, heading our universe,
yeah,
I'm gonna see it. We're all gonna see a shift in our conversation in the next like 5 years, and I'm gonna be there to read people. I cannot wait. I can, and I've already been doing it. Everybody who's like, I'm all excited for this or this. I'm like, you were fake. You told me last week I wasn't shit. Oh, you was just talking shit about the Flash. Okay. Like, hold them accountable because. At least admit you're a bandwagoner. Like, don't be like that. And like being on the wagon, it is boring.
It's boring. And see, this is why one of the reasons why I've always caped for DC, right? Because look at what James Gunn is doing, right? This whole Gods and Monsters saga that he's doing, the stories that he's choosing. The reason why I'm excited is when James Gunn took over, I said, I don't need an origin Batman. I don't need an origin Superman. So the fact that we're going into the brave and the bold, the fact that we're going into Damian as the first Robin that he's choosing, the fact that we're doing a prequel to Wonder Woman, like these are stories that any big time director, they're like, I got DC. All right, we got to do Batman. We got to start from the beginning. And James Gunn had the wherewithal to be like, no, this story's been told. We have so many stories that we can tell. We don't got to focus on the same people all the time or the same story all the time. Let's jump shift. Let's get a seasoned Batman, because if we're getting Damian, that means Red Hood is already established, Nightwing is already established, the Ra's al Ghul is back, and he's and like the Court of Owls, like we are already dealing with so many things. We're getting the Lanterns. We're getting not only just Hal Jordan, but we're getting Hal Jordan and John Stewart. Like we're getting Booster Gold. It's like this is why DC is so dope, because these stories are so established that we don't gotta get the Bane guys ASAP. We can jump into them whenever. We can tell these other stories and still build up. I'm so excited for what like I needed this announcement from James Gunn, because I was on the rock still. I was like,
I trusted him for the beginning, because I was like, every project he's done for DC has been really good. So I had no reason to think that what he was going to do now wouldn't. And I think what's important that showed me he's a real fan is everyone's like, no more Superman, no more Batman story. There is no DC without Superman and Batman.
You gotta have
them. You literally have to. But I love how he was like, I get it. You're tired of seeing the movie scene. I get it. You don't need to know about Superman origins already. Boom. But they still need to be there. The universe is built around them.
The story and I love that. The story that he's choosing for Superman, I'm gonna fix this in post. They're doing something with my internet here.
Yeah, no worries.
But the fact that he chose the storyline of him when he's trying to determine, like, all right, I'm the savior of the world, but I'm still Kryptonian. Like, that is a story that is going to be really so dope for him to tell.
It's definitely going to resonate, and I'm hoping also they're going to push Super Sons as well. I mean, dope. Because it's clearly moving into that direction. But I think that's a big thing too. A lot of people see Superman as like Captain America.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they don't realize that Superman and Captain America are two very different characters. And Superman is in morality perfect. And that is also why he's a terrible lover. He's a terrible father. He's a terrible friend, because he's always going to do like what's best for the greater good, and he's incorruptible. And I think that to see him grapple with that, to see, even though he's incorruptible, he still has these thoughts, right? It's just the movements, the choices that he makes are, morally right.
Yeah.
So I think being able to see his process, see how he thinks and stuff like that is really going to show a side of Superman that I don't think a lot of them just show like he's great, he's the
Yeah.
anti-Batman, and I really want to see this, like, his shortcomings, how he is as a person, him trying to balance Superman, who is who he is, to his alter ego, who is who he wants to be, like who he wants to live a life. He wants to be with Lois. He wants to like not have the burden of the world. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm really excited. And I'm excited for people to finally start, like, I don't know, learning about DC.
Oh yeah, definitely. One last thing I'll say that you said, I think the reason why people compare them, Superman to Captain America, is like, it's surface levels. They both stand for what's right in the world, right? But the key difference is Superman can literally kill everybody on the world like that, and Captain America can't. So Superman, what causes his conflict is, morally, I can stop any threat. Literally, I can kill anything. And so, but I choose not to be that. And I don't want to be the nuke. I don't want to be the big dog in this world. And so, like, him trying to balance that's the difference versus Captain America. Yeah, you're a good soldier and you are the beacon of hope and everything like that. But like, you not the say all end all. It's not like, oh, well, as long as Cap is here, we can defeat anything. Like, when you have Superman, you literally, like, I mean, unless you out of this universe, we really can defeat anything with Superman.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a bigger piece of that too is the acceptance of Captain America versus Superman. Like, Superman gets these accolades and things like that, but he is what any person of color would feel like in a white office, where they're accepting your work, they're accepting all this stuff, and they love you, but they're all secretly scared of you, and they let you know, like, the whole point is the world is always creating contingency plans against Superman. Like, they are terrified of him, and they're accepting of him only because, like, he's doing well. But and that's why, if you've ever read Irredeemable, it's so excellent, because he is Superman, right? He's doing well, he makes a wrong choice, and everybody's like, oh, this guy, the Plutonian, is terrible. And so he's like, F that, I'm gonna be the worst then. And I think with Captain America, he is put forward as the answer, right? America loves him. They're like, yes, this is, now I'm talking about white Captain America, not black Captain America. But like, he is like, yes, Steve Rogers is the pinnacle of hope. Everybody trusts him. And at the end of the day, they know he can be stopped. But with Superman, there's always that fear. And so Superman has to shrink himself around everyone. He has to be on his P's and Q's. And that's what I always thought was interesting about him, was that he kind of played like a big black man, right? One who's like 7 foot and muscular. Like, he has so much power, so he has to tiptoe around everyone because everyone has that fear of the mask. And so before he opens his mouth, they're already passing judgment. They're already afraid. And that it's stories like that is why I really love DC, is that it's so much more about gods on earth. And when they're saying gods, I think of us. Like, I think of like kings, queens. Like, we are the few, we are the minority, and we are different. And because of that, we are viewed differently, and we do have the power, right? Like, physiologically, black people are stronger. I mean, they bred us that way, but we're bigger and stronger, and now we're scarier than them. And so they actively work to, and more creative and all this stuff, and they're actively working to suppress us, and we have to combat that, which is exhausting.
Man, I love it. Like I said, DC in general, these stories. In one of my friend groups, we kind of like share old clips of DC, like just to each other. And I said, bro, we were kids learning about the psyche of humans and people watching and reading these DC comics and watching these shows. I said, DC is like, I love how DC didn't hold our hands with
Right.
their
They're like,
writing.
get it together.
Yeah. So
They're like, what do you know?
I said we don't need more more origins of Batman and Superman, but one origin that we do want to get into is the origin of Fanboy Fighter,
Yeah.
which I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, your origin story starts in Ghana.
Yes. Actually it does. I went to Ghana with some friends, and I'd already been a nerd for a long time, kind of secretly. And I was talking to my friends about it. I was like, I be on these YouTube pages and stuff like that. And it's a bunch of men, and they don't even talk about the shit I want to talk about because they're not thinking about their perception, what they're considering. They're not thinking about. I also think that's why my takes are so fresh, because as I mentioned, my perspective is not there. And even like the women you were talking about who I idolize so much, they are journalists, right? They're not giving hot takes. So they're leading the discussion, but they're definitely doing way more interviews and things like that. And they wasn't doing what I love to watch, which was like people debate and discuss and like have a conversation on that level. Which they're all very fun to debate and stuff,
They
which
are
is great. And so I was in Ghana and I was talking to my friends about it. None of them read comic books. And while I was there, they was like, yeah, that'd be cute, like Fantastic Frankey or something like that, like on some alliteration tip. And they was like, you should do it. And so I went home and I got my iPhone and I started filming very poorly. I still have my first couple videos up, but I started like just jotting, like doing random videos of random thoughts that I had, and like working really hard to edit, to film, to figure out what t-shirt I wanted to wear, all that jazz. And then I slowly started to add on, to upgrade, to like, and seeing what people were responsive to it. And the funny thing was, people were the most responsive to my opinion.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was negative, but I think that negativity really shined a light on like how much they just are not ready to hear a woman's opinion or something, or something that's not against that goes against what everyone's been saying is true. And that kind of emboldened me to like do more and to want more.
Well, the one of the reasons, and this is something that I learned early on in life, is in one of the reasons why I do make it a point to vocalize my support for women, Black women specifically in general, is I've been privileged enough to have both of my parents with me and see that love, that true Black love between my mom and dad. And one of the things that my dad always did was he made sure that he gave my mom her undivided attention when she was talking, right? No matter what it was, he gave that to her. And if it was something that was important to her, that she was passionate about, he made sure that not only did he give her undivided attention, but he made sure that he engaged with her, talked with her, supported her, gave her stuff like that, right? So that was already embedded in me. So as I got my love for like anime, I'm watching anime only, but the most in-depth conversations that I had was with women, because women instinctively read more. They dive into literature more. So it's like, I'm surface level loving this anime, and most women that I spoke with, they encouraged me to get into manga. So I started reading manga. Same thing about comic books. I'm loving these comic books and these shows, but I'm having surface level conversations with majority of the men or the boys at that time when I was a kid. But like, it was always women or girls that was like, yo, me and you are going in depth about why we love, like Nightwing, or why, like, and so I realized that. I said, and so I often want to make sure that I'm vocal about being an ally. So in my personal walk of life, I make sure that I'm an ally to the LGBTQ plus community. I make sure that I'm an ally to, women in general, to like where there's factions at my job, my regular 9 to 5, that I said, ooh, let me be a part of this. I'm not a part of this community, but I want to be a part because I want to hear what you guys got to say and how I, as a Black man, can support you better, right? And so when it comes down to like, even like you said, like you said, there's people in your comments and stuff like that, or stuff like that. Like people often have to tell me like, hey, Deuces, you don't got to go so hard, because like I'll be in them comments arguing for you. Like, wait a minute, hold up. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, I get that, and it's one of those things where I make sure like there's this pocket of Twitter where I call it the gender war Twitters. But the one point that I never interject is when women say like, oh, see, this is why men don't ever like protect women. I know that I'm doing my part, but I'm like, I'm not going to interject like, well, Frankey, I mean, not every man, because I'm like, yes, there's clearly more men that don't think like me. There's clearly more men in this world who will shoot down a woman's opinion just because she's a woman. So I'm like, even though I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm adding to the problem if all I'm doing, and anytime Frankey sees me, it's me going back and forth with her like, well, not all men, it's only the people around you. Like, I always hated that and stuff like that, right? So it's like when it comes down to that and like understanding, your content, like it doesn't surprise me that the most engagement or the most ones that people jump to is your opinion. But I do applaud you for not letting that get you, because I know that it can be a lot. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it can be, and I love the fact that you are, you're able to push through it, and you're gaining your allyship. There's so many people that support you. I see it daily in your comments of people that are fighting for you as well.
Yeah, it's really cool to have a group of the Fanboy Fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I try to endear to men by saying, like, especially Black men, I'm like, think of racism, right? When you say white people do this, white people that don't fit that standard, but you're knowing that the majority is this way. And whenever I talk about Black men not supporting women, I use the example of Frederick Douglass, who his entire thesis was to read. Reading is fundamental. Reading is the key to success, blah 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 blah. He taught himself how to read. He was like, everybody needs to learn how to read. He never taught his wife how to read, which is crazy.
I never thought about that.
He never taught his wife how to read. That's
never thought
the
about
man
that.
who talks about reading all the time. And that's our relationship to Black men. And I think a lot of guys want to play it cool, where they feel like it's not that deep. You know what I mean? Like, so they don't want to deep dive because I don't want to. They feel like it's not cool to dissect things on the level of like us that we would do in a book club.
Right.
But like, I'm like, to say that comic books and stuff like that are not complex when they're 100-year-old stories that have evolved over years is crazy. Like everything is complex, but I think the fact that the medium is cartoon, it makes people feel like this is not right. But I'm like, there's a lot of science fiction that's nothing but commentary, right? And Beloved, right? Kindred, The Handmaid. There are a lot of like science fiction that people dissect on that level. But Fahrenheit 450, like there are so many different things that we can do, but because there are cartoons attached with it, because the costumes are ridiculous, we don't see it on that level. But especially back to Irredeemable, and I think it's on my mind because I just read it like over Christmas break. It's so complex. There's no child who could read Irredeemable. I don't know if I could read it in high school. You know what I mean? Like it is an adult comic book. Watchmen is an adult comic book that you could only read as an adult. The Bat Who Laughs. Like there's so many comic book series that it's only like for adults. And the themes are there, the dialogue is rich. But I think as soon as they see that cartoon, they're like, nah.
I'll put it in this perspective. If you take away all the imagery and just put the dialogue in a book form, it's Game of Thrones. Right. Like, you know, Game of Thrones, if Game of Thrones never got adapted to TV and it was a cartoon, if Game of Thrones was never adapted to TV and it was a cartoon, it'll still slap. But there will be people like, that cartoon, dealing with dragons and stuff like that. But it's like, no, like the story, the writing, the themes, the foresight, the universe. In order to create a universe, like me and you right now can, we can say, we're gonna create a universe around me and you, Frankie, and it's not going to be an easy task. It takes a lot because, you know, because like you got to think about with all these properties, it's usually multiple people. It's usually a group of us, and it's say, all right, so Frankie, you doing Batman, Deuces, you doing Superman, Blur Girl, you doing Wonder Woman, Cheyenne the Geek, you doing Flash, and then but it all got to connect. That is a hard task to do for writing, for movies, for anything. So it's like, when you break that down and you start seeing how these themes and how people tie things in and how like, I didn't even think about that. That moment was that. Like, that is some elite level writing. Like, you can't just write it off just because it's animated.
Right. I agree. Yeah. And you know what? Even with Game of Thrones, they dumbed it down for the show, right? They made it way less fantasy level.
Yeah.
For the show, where they were like, hey, you know, they took out so many of the fantasy elements from the show, some of the like revivals, some of like the Starks are way more magical. Like there's so many other fantasy elements in the show that they dumb down for that exact reason, that they're like, we're afraid people are going to think this is cartoonish. We want to appeal to a larger audience, but the story is the same, and actually it's less rich without those fantasy elements, right? But yeah, I agree. Another fun fact I realized is that if Game of Thrones was written by a woman, they would have called it YA. And I'd realized that like anytime a woman, like young adult, anytime, yeah. So anytime there's like Ender's Game is not considered YA, or like sometimes they'll put it in fantasy. Percy Jackson is put into fantasy, right? But then Hunger Games is YA. So they do YA when there's like female protagonists or it's written by a woman. Yeah, they call it YA.
That's trash.
Yeah. And Hunger Games is not YA. I was just talking to my friend about it. They're like, Hunger Games is YA. I was like, no, it's not.
It's definitely not.
There's nothing about Hunger Games as YA. Like, she's a teenager, but even then, like the whole thing is about her building a family and like how terrible the world is and capitalism, and it's very interesting how the way we perceive the world is the way that we put out content. You know,
everybody has the stereotypical on what a black geek is. Are you familiar with the term blurred?
Blood, none.
Right. Some people said it came off of Scrubs. Some people said it came off the internet. I don't honestly really know.
Don't you see the skin, the eyebrows, the hair?
Yo, my geeks still rock, you know what I'm saying, Dunks or Jordans or whatever.
Did I do that?
It's exciting. It's like, holy, oh, my dog is gonna start barking.
It's all right.
She's excited about it too.
And same as you said, like a barbershop talk, like we would go into really in-depth conversations about these theories and like, well, what if and how come?
It's not unusual to be
right, but we talk about anime, video games, comic books and stuff like that, but when you hear us talk about it, the passion sounds like we arguing Jordan and Bron.
What do you mean? What does that even mean? What does that even mean?
Like, it sounds like barbershop talk.
Because you don't know the history, don't mean it ain't happened, dog. You broke that down right there.
But when you see the black geek, you don't see that. You see the socially awkward glasses. Well, this is me. And that's not a lot of us. A lot of us do sound and talk like us. You know what I'm saying?
Because it becomes stereotypical, as if that's where our strength comes from.
I don't know that geek that you talked about before. I know the geek you're talking about right now, though.
It was sort of a call sign so we could find each other on message boards.
Anime gives you life lessons throughout that whole thing. Like, there's not one anime that I know of that doesn't teach you to never give up.
It's just like, I just love seeing us go into the world and go into these different spaces and create things that weren't there before.
And then it was like Miles Morales is like the normal, Black person in the United States.
That was my first blurred moment, was seeing, Storm on the X-Men cartoon series. And I was like, wow, that's a Black woman and she's strong, she's powerful.
That's what I want for us. I want us to be that voice.
Well, to bring it back though a little bit, because we talked about House of Dragon, and what I love when people's work speaks for themselves, that the companies reach out to them, because you got to cover House of the Dragons, do some stuff for them. How was that experience?
It was honestly surreal. I'd been working lightly with HBO Max in Hero Mode. I did this influencer program with them where I'd reviewed a couple things, and they really enjoyed it. They really liked it. And then I met more of the team at San Diego Comic-Con, and I was like, listen, whatever you want. I love working with y'all, yada, yada, yada. I'm a big fan. I know House of the Dragon is coming out. And then once I verbalized that at San Diego Comic-Con, I saw them at an event. They reached out. They were like, can you do more coverage? Are you comfortable doing interviews? And I think what was the best part about that partnership was that they wanted my unique voice, right? They weren't we need an influencer. They was I think I'd done a live and I said, yeah, they rolling through like Dipset. And one of the execs hit me up and was like, that's the funniest shit I've ever heard. Thank you. I couldn't articulate that. This is HBO Max won't talk like this, but we can get away talking like this if it's through you. Yeah. And they're always encouraging me to just be myself and submit things that I would put on my page. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very rare with working with brands in general, right? Where they're a lot of them give you a lot of guardrails, but for them, they're like, we hired you because we think the way you think is hilarious and we can't think that way. Yeah. And it was really cool to do the interviews, to interview Rami Diwajawi, which is he is the composer for both Game of Thrones and stuff, and be able to get into his mind. And I really hope, and even now I got to do some stuff with them for The Last of Us, which is incredible.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm really hoping to grow that partnership, over time, because I'm a big DC girl. They know it. Yeah. They sent me that James Gunn interview super announcement super early. I was already on it.
Oh, okay.
And it was do with this what you will.
Do your thing.
And I was like, word, you already know I'm about to be acting.
Do your thing for me, Frankey.
Sure. It's what you need that video? What's up? What you need it on March? I got you.
I love that. I'm seeing that so much more, and that's why I wanted to talk about the House of Dragon with you, is because you got to be you, and I started realizing that as I started, with us, as we started working with more brands and everything like that, you start realizing where you are in the culture, right? What your role is. So our role, for a geek set, because they said we wanted to be that, we wanted to be like the Breakfast Club of blurred culture, right? Because there's certain people like you that we're like, yo, she is so dope, and when you do something dope like the House of Dragons, you can throw it on Twitter and people will, or your Instagram or TikTok, and people will celebrate you. But I'm like, no, you're when you are up and coming rapper, you aspire to be on Sway's Universe and Breakfast Club for that interview to talk about what you're working on, right? When you're an actor, you want to hit that late night scene and be on those late night shows. But if you are a dope cosplayer or a dope reporter in the blurred community, where do you go to get celebrated? we want to be that. I was like, that's what we want to be. So I was like, when I see people are able to be themselves in the spaces that is like, yo, that is dope. Like I can tell that when they brought you on, I was like, oh, they let her go. They let like the jokes, the words, the way that we're saying, like they let her be herself. And that's what I love. And, you know, even with us, you know, when we talk to these people and these companies and they're like, yo, I'm always surprised when they're like, yeah, y'all can just be y'all. I'm like, okay, because I'm like, if I'm covering The Last of Us, and I'm like, yo, Joe gave them hands, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I want to be able to say that and not but nobody be like, well, what do you mean by them hands? Like, no, like Joe giving out them hands. Like, what are you talking about?
You know, sometimes in my script, I do use slang and they don't know what it means, but they don't reject it. They just ask. They're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, word, this means I think I said they being low. And they're like, what's low? And I was like, well, it means, you know, like that. But that was it. And even before when I was doing the HBO Max's like live reviews, I would have like 24 hours to give them like an outline of what I was talking about. And I would send them the outlines, and sometimes they would redline things like, no, that's not what the scene was intended. But if I explained what my train of thought was, 9 times out of 10, unless it was like, no, we actually can't say that, they would be like, word, okay, we're just saying that's not it. Or they'll be like, just acknowledge the director meant this, but this is how you interpreted it. And I think you guys are with Black Effect, right?
No. We're solo, but we just
solo.
Yeah, we're independent, but however, we just signed on with Sway's Universe to cover The Last of Us.
Sway's Universe, right. But I think places like Sway's Universe, like Black Effect, or like Sway and Charlemagne have made their name by being honest VJs, right?
Yeah.
And so they're noticing that. They're seeing, okay, there's a huge community out there that's being uplifted by essentially Black Twitter. How do I capitalize that? How do I get that voice, right? And so obviously you guys are with Sway, which is dope, yo. How does Sway feel after Kanye said, you know what, he did have the answers? That's crazy. 20 years.
He's been laughing over that.
He got roasted for 20 years, yo. And then I would be furious. He better than me, boy. I would have been like, word, I got the answers. But everybody was saying I'm crazy. How Sway? There's t-shirts talking about how Sway, but I got the answers now. Word. Word. And he was spitting.
But like it goes back to what you're saying though, and kind of what reason why we celebrate people like yourself is that once we get in the places where we can be ourselves and welcome and introduce the space to people, you know, we talked about in you know, I started doing voiceover for Watch Mojo, right? So of course, when I first got over there, I'm doing it regular, right? But they had to tell me like, no, we like you. So it's like they let me, like, they'll send me some lists, and like I'll give you one. Like I remember one list, it was a hip hop list, and then at the end of it, so I'm recording it. I realized that I'm very Ron Burgundy-ish when it comes down to my voice acting.
Can I hear it?
What?
Can I hear it? Ron Burgundy?
It's not a Ron Burgundy voice. What I mean is, what's on the screen, I read the screen.
Like it could say "Go fuck yourself," and you're like, "Go fuck yourself."
So in this list, it's a hip hop list, and at the end of the list, it says, "That's rad." Right, so I'm reading the list and I'm like, man, that's rad. And then like I vocally say, wait, what? And you hear me laughing in the outtake, and I kept it. I said, hey, I'm gonna give y'all alt because nobody is saying that's rad in the hip hop community.
I love that though. I love that you said. And sometimes what they'll do when they give you prompts is they're like, whatever that rad means to you, right? Which I would have read over like, it's lit, you know, like, you know, but I feel you on that. And there's a pressure there, right? Obviously, Watch Mojo. Is she American?
No, they're from Canadian.
Okay,
Canadian.
Canada. I'm telling that you said that. Let me go ahead and DM. No,
they're from Canada,
like, there is like an air to them that inherently makes you code switch, right?
Yeah.
And so they're like, be you, and you're like, whoa. huh? Like this
Right?
is a setup. What are you talking about? Be me.
But they love it. They
Yeah.
embrace it. They came out with their Watch Mojo game, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna do a quick reel for it," right? So I'm sitting here dancing to hotel lobby, you know what I'm saying, swagging out, doing everything, and they was like, "Yo, we love this." And I'm looking at everybody else's that did it, and I'm like, "Yeah, they did it good. They did the traditional YouTube style. Hey guys, this is the Watch Mojo." And I'm like, "Nah." I was like, "I'm about to TikTok this motherfucker up." And I was like, I'm sitting here, I'm hitting the dances like, "Hey, Watch Mojo game."
Right. I love that though. And I'm sure they do too. And that's why diversity in these spaces are so TV is getting so good.
Oh my God.
And it's because they're finally letting us sit. I was like, I could have been that's what
Misha
get me
Green
tight.
is one of my favorite writers, and I just love how they let her cook. I love how Issa Rae, like, she literally changed how we see TV, the lighting aspect of how she shot Insecure and everything like that, and the Black people that she and people of color that she supported to help her with the final product, like, you know what I'm saying? And then you see Quinta get syndicated and everything, like this is like, I love what we are seeing here.
Who did Watchmen? It was a man, right? A Black man who did Watchmen.
I do believe, but I know Regina King had a lot in there as well.
Yeah, she directed some episodes, but like I remember watching the first episode of Watchmen, and Regina King had a scene in the dark field, in all black with black paint on her face, and you could see her face, and I was like, y'all been lying to us, talk about y'all can't see us, and that's like, y'all just don't know lighting, y'all don't know color, like that. If y'all don't know what lighting is, just say that instead of gaslighting us into saying like, oh well, they look like that. Black people are darker. I was like, word, Regina. Every day I'd be like, not on Issa Rae's internet are you gonna have somebody pretty lit. And that's why I also love HBO Max. Like, people talk, I get it, the Zaslow thing and what they've been canceling has been terrible, but so far, even since he's been gone, they've been doing nothing but promoting including diversity, right? Even since he's added in, and the projects that's been coming in, for better or for worse, right? For worse would be like Velma, but even Velma was them giving the reins to Monique Kaylin, and they said, we trust you, right? They did The Last of Us first episode, 2 Black women in power, right? Like a Latin man doing his thing, a Black daughter. Like, we're seeing that diversity, and it's not shoehorned in, it's not overt, it's just like a episode on a gay couple.
And that was the best episode so far. That episode was so good. Oh my God. Like, we adjusted our review Monday about it and everything like that. And I was like, bro, what I love about The Last of Us is that they're giving so much weight to characters that we only either know a little bit about. Like, if you play the game of Last of Us, you don't know, like, you know Frank, but you don't get to know Frank. And when you get introduced to Bill, they play around with that he may be gay, but like, you really get Bill in this aftermath, right? So you don't even understand his love journey that he went through. So when you see this episode and you like, yo, hey, if the apocalypse happened and you ain't loving me like how Frank and Bill love each other, then I don't want to be in the apocalypse. Like, I need that love.
Absolutely.
That is love.
I still don't want to be in the apocalypse. That's wild.
Well, guess what?
Go ahead, kill me.
We're gonna talk about
Go ahead,
that
kill
today.
me. Go ahead,
We're gonna
kill
talk
me.
about that today because it's one of the games that we have on my show that we do is called hypotheticals. So I want to ask you a hypothetical. We have 3 different apocalypses. Which one do you think you would last the longest in? We have a robot apocalypse, a zombie apocalypse, or an alien apocalypse. Which one do you believe you're going to last the longest in?
What's an alien apocalypse? It's an invasion, or recolonized?
Yeah, an alien invasion. Think about like Mars attack, Independence Day.
I would go for alien. I would last the longest.
Okay.
Robot, and then zombie. My issue with zombie is like, I'm not trying to be a zombie. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to get eaten.
I would say nobody
That
wants to be the
sucks.
zombie, Frankie.
Yeah, but it's likely. I'm not trying to run all day. Food ain't up. Like it's so much. It's so much. So I would definitely go with
Alien?
go Alien first. Because the thing about the robot, I got a smart house and shit. I'm getting clapped, actually. I'm getting clapped immediately. Yo, Alexa been waiting to get me. But the zombie, I live in New York too. Somebody biting me. Ain't no way, right?
Ain't no way.
I'm gonna be on my bike. I'm gonna be on a bike, roll it around. No, I'm not trying to.
So
the minute somebody bring me some beans, I'm done.
So it's a two-part to this question. All right, so you chose Alien. All right, so there's 3 different styles of aliens. All right, so we have your regular Mars attack aliens. Those are the ones who come out. They got the blaster gun, right? We also have your Independence Day style aliens. Those are the ones that come out primarily with the ships. They are attacking everybody with the ship, and then you got your xenomorphs from like the Alien franchise. So we're gonna section it. In the Mars attack aliens, that Mars attack, they come down, land right in front of your block, and you are first contact, and they want to fight you and everything like that or whatever. What is your survival rate if you were in this?
Hands? Straight hands, or they got guns?
Let's say straight hands, because I don't know.
Straight hands?
I don't know your access.
I'm fucking up some Mars attack. They like 1 foot tall. They got a big ass head. Nah, and they look soft. Like
they do look
physically soft. Definitely, if it's straight hands. Now the thing is, if they've arrived to Earth, they have technology I can't even fathom.
Okay, so that's right to the second one though. Because
but all of them, no matter what, to come to Earth, you have technology I can't even consider. So, but if it's straight hands, I got you. We done.
All right. So second thing. All right. So with the Independence Day one, it's not on your front step, but the military is like, all right, we need all hands on deck. So now you in the military, they need you to go up and help fight. What's your survival rate?
Can you be in the military? Let me tell you, I do not care who we fighting. I'm not joining the military. So I'm dead. I'm done. There is I don't care if the Green Lantern Corps come up to me talking about no. There is no military. I'll fight for myself and for my people. I will join the Fireflies. The military, no sir. Okay. It will end up being, because you end up being Nazis to somebody at one point. That's why that was my favorite line, where he was like, "You think the government's Nazi?" He's like, "The government is Nazis," and they're like, he's like, "Okay, well now, but how did they turn into Nazis? They always gonna turn into. It's always gonna go. If there's an invasion, it's gonna go into martial law. So no military. Nah, y'all gonna have me shooting baby? No.
Okay. All right. So last one. All right. For whatever reason, you are on the spaceship. All right. And then the xenomorphs happen. So now you are equipped with guns and everything that would be on the spaceship to fight.
I have their guns.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta fight this. You gotta fight the xenomorphs.
Oh, I'm getting off that. But if it's me, yes, I'm getting up off that. I don't know if especially if it's Gads. Yes, I trust in myself. I think I'm scrappy enough to get off. I think that, like I said, I think it was the technology disparity.
Okay.
They're also bigger than me. It'll be way easier to shoot them than for me. I'm a way smaller target than I'm tall, but I'm not gonna be as tall as them xenomorphs who about to be 8 feet tall. I'll be a sniper. I'm gonna lay right up on somebody's ledge and shoot up everybody who walk in, and then I'm gonna walk my ass out.
Now, so you not Sigourney Weaver in it up? You're not getting it's something to fight them. You trying to find how to flee.
Yeah, why you keep on talking about fighting? Why am I throwing hands with these aliens? What have they done to me?
Well, they're attacking.
Personally, are they racist? Like, what is it? What have they done to me? And I may talk to them. I'd be like, listen. We've been trying to get rid of these white people forever. We've been trying to humble them. Me, I'm oppressed. Okay, talk to me. What do you need? Do you need a liaison? You need our resources? Can I go back? Yeah, like let's. I would try to be diplomatic at first and try to see, because I feel like also the invasion thing happens, and I feel like aliens will invade us because they've been monitoring us, and they're like, Earthlings are wild. There's no way they could have a conversation with us. They're not gonna entertain anything. I think District 9 is a perfect example, right? They send refugees there.
Such a sleeper movie.
They send refugees there, and we start fucking them up immediately and putting them in the slums. And so I think if I came to them like, look, talk to me, listen, I can get some black people. Look, people of color, some Puerto Rican. You talking to the U.S. government, of course. Talk to the regular people. Right. I get white people. I'm gonna get white people too, but not the rich ones. Like, come here, the poor people, my Jewish brethren. We gonna come up. We got you. Don't even trip.
So pretty much any oppressed, any marginalized group or oppressed group is good. If you've been privileged, you
toast. You had your time though. You had your time. You buying Beyonce tickets, no sweat. I'm not. I feel you. And congratulations to you. Now this is my time. And I'll guide them. I'd be like, yo, let's talk. I'd be like, you talking to one marginalized person. You as bad as them, and you pass a judgment on us, Zorbarg or whatever fuck his name is.
Oh, you know what made me think of what now that I'm looking at you with some other one thing that I'm surprised that you didn't, but I love about your videos is I love how you use your Rode mic. It's become a thing that when I see your videos, I'm like, ooh, what's she gonna have it on this time? Because I love how you doing that.
You know what it ended up being was I wanted to start using my Rode mic because before I was using a boom. Oh. I was using a boom mic, and it takes forever to set up, and it was discouraging me from making videos because to get the boom mic correct and to do all that stuff. So I was like, let me do this Rode mic, which I was bringing to cons. And I was like, I don't want to hold it like this during a video. That's awkward. How do I make a stand? And I was like, I got these action figures. Let me try it on that. So I'd started with The Rock. I'd switched his mic. He came with a little microphone. With my Rode mic, and it was a great conversation piece. I was like, let me do that. And I was like, I have other ones. I have, a bad girl. I have all these other figurines that I can kind of switch out, swap out, depending on what I'm discussing. And also to take the conversation of bias, right? If I put The Rock up there and I'm talking about Marvel, they'd be like, you biased, you love The Rock. I'm like, all right. But if I got Storm up there, I'm talking about Marvel, then it's like, oh, okay. If I got Captain America, Sam, not Steve, then people are gonna be like, where is she?
Well, but it's also just a dope geek. It's like, what I love about certain things that I'm seeing with creators is like, in the sense of Easter eggs or just something like that, like it becomes a thing, right? It becomes a thing where if you were working the red carpet and you had it, that would be a nod to your your fanboy fighters, right? Where somebody be like, oh man, I heard Frankey gonna be recovering Ant-Man, right? And then we see the footage and we see it, and it's one of those, if people like, oh look, she got the thing.
She got the thing. Exactly. Exactly.
So I love that. Like when I first noticed it, I said, oh, that's dope. And then I'm like, dang, we got Rode mics. We should have did that.
I'm glad. I'm like, I did it first. I'm gonna read. I'm like, go ahead and tag me when y'all start. Inevitably, somebody's gonna start doing it.
Of course.
And I probably won't get tagged. Yeah.
So I got a question for you, because you be in these spaces, you be having these conversations, you be having these debates. What is the most polarizing hot take that you've had?
Apparently, it's me saying that men can't understand how Lizzo can be in shape, but they understand how OLs are in shape. That's been the one I've gotten the most. I didn't know men hated Lizzo like that.
It's kind of wild how much men are vocal. Like it got to the point where I'd be in there like, hey, can y'all niggas chill? Like y'all
relax. They're like, the footballs can backflip. I'm like, is that the parameter for being in shape? My point is, because obviously none of them know anything about Lizzo besides the fact that she's fat. I'm like, she's vegan, she's exercising every day. Her concerts most people could not do. I'm not saying that she's on the level of a football player. I'm saying that she is in shape. She fat and in shape, and y'all get that. Y'all know what that means because you watch football. And it's been like a 3-week effing ride over that. But I guess the second one, I think I was talking about, I don't know, something with Goku. Let me think. Goku maybe being a sociopath. That was up there.
I'm gonna give you I'm gonna preference this by saying Goku is one of my favorite anime characters.
Word.
However, I do just as much as same with Batman, one of my favorite comic book characters. But I realize Batman is crazy as shit. I realize Goku is majority of the reasons for all the problems that happen in the Dragon Ball Z universe. I was like, I'm not that far gone where I don't acknowledge the issues with these characters that I love, but I still do love them. But that brings me to my second question. What is a more argumentative topic? Batman with prep time or Goku solos?
I think they're equal. I think they're equal. I think the thing about with Batman with prep time, which I also had a big conversation about, was that people don't realize that all of the writers love Batman. And so his whole thing is like, I was talking to, they're like, mutants can beat him. I'm like, if you don't think Batman has a cure set up for mutants are in their DNA. Like, that's the thing. Like, he's a genius. He's thinking. I can't say he's stronger than anyone, but I think that he's devious enough to beat people. He is a supervillain, and we're blessed that he's not one. But Goku solos, I think it's good, but I think it sounds a lot dumber to me because Goku loses all the time.
He does. He loses.
Like everybody be getting their ass with Goku pull up, and then they're finally like, "Oh, Goku's here," and then he die, and then somebody else come and win. And I'm trying to think of someone because he didn't kill Frieza. No. Trunks did. He didn't kill Cell. Gohan did. Who else? He didn't kill Raditz. Piccolo did. He didn't kill Nappa. Vegeta did. He didn't kill Vegeta. That became his boy. He didn't kill Boo. Boo became his boy. So I was like, who he beat? He didn't beat Jiren. He just threw him off a fucking thing with his boy. His boy had to help. Frieza had to help him.
Frieza had not only Frieza and Android 17 had to help.
Yeah, three niggas had to take him down. And that was him with Ultra Instinct, which is supposed to be this magical. He didn't beat Beerus either. So I was like, who is Goku soloing? Show me, please. Who is he soloed? Who is he beating? He's washed them up. Yes, he's washed them up. And technically, he could have killed Frieza, right? He gave him mercy.
Technically, could have killed Cell.
Well, right. I don't know. He chose not to. So we'll never know.
He just stopped, so we don't know.
Yeah, and guess we'll never know. Is my thing. We'll figure.
He Kanye Wested out.
Yeah, I don't know.
The funniest take I heard about Batman versus Superman. I was interviewing this comedian by the name of Ty Davis, and she said she was like, "I don't."
Ty Davis is. Sorry.
Huh?
I know what Ty Davis is.
Yeah, she said she was like, I don't like Batman or Superman. She was like, it's literally MAGA versus the police. She was like, I said, oh shit.
MAGA, like, who's MAGA?
She says that Superman is MAGA and Batman is the police because he's always trying to police. And she was saying that Superman, she don't like Superman because it's literally they gave the whitest character everything. Like that's what it said. It's like this is a white man who has every power in the comic book lore. It's just she don't like Batman because he's just a regular ass dude. And she was like, so when they fought, it was like I didn't care who won because it was literally just MAGA versus the police. And I said, that is a hilarious take.
That's why I don't like the way they're shown on movies versus in the comic book. Superman is Jewish, number one.
Oh yeah,
and poor. He's poor.
You know what? They never dove into that.
Yeah, they don't. He's and that's why he's so good. He's had to really suppress and then on the other side, Batman is the anti-cop, right? He's like, the cops are out here fucking up. And that's why the cops see him. He only trusts one guy. Literally. Sometimes Jim Gordon's like, I'm gonna tell my boy Harvey. He's like, nah, fuck that. It's just you, Jim. Don't play with
just
me.
you.
Do not blame me. I'm telling you out of courtesy because I respect you, but I do not like the GCPD. And then he does their whole job. He leaves them evidence and is like, please, for the love of God, just put them in jail. Please, I'll fund the jail for you, but I cannot. And that's why too. People were like, he never kills the Joker. I'm like, who is he to kill the Joker? And that's who he's saying too. Who am I to kill the Joker? I am not the judge, jury, and executioner.
People put that on him, but outside of the Punisher, most superheroes don't kill. Outside of the Punisher and like maybe Deadpool and stuff, like most superheroes, that's the golden rule. I don't kill.
Right. Because then that's what keeps them out of trouble, right? But also, why? Dang, I gotta ask this question: why doesn't the state kill the Joker? I ain't never seen it. Why? I ain't never seen him on the like. Why isn't the GCPD? Y'all worried about Batman? That's not his place. To kill the Joker. I'm sorry, I just thought about that. I was like, who is he? He's not the judge, the jury, and that's his point. He's like, once I start killing people, where does it end?
Where does it end? Yeah.
Where does it end? I'm just a man. I'm just trying to save my city. My city is in trouble. So much so that the people who are supposed to protect it are not. They're also corrupted. They're also
heavily corrupted. Oh my God. Yeah.
So that's his whole thing, you know?
Yeah. All right. So 2 more segments and I get you out of here. So I always, I got to do a top 5. So here's my caveat. It doesn't have to be in order and it can be currently, but I do want to get, what is Frankie's top 5 characters in comic books?
I feel like it's always shifting.
That's why I said it can be right now.
It's always shifting. Yeah, right now. So like I said, I just read Incorruptible and not Incorruptible, the other one, Irredeemable. Yeah. And his name is escaping me because it's hard to pronounce it, but they're like smart telepathy guy is up there. Definitely Mark Grayson and his decision making is up there. Joe, Far Sector, I love Joe. Sojourner, I think she's up there right now. What's that, 3?
Yep.
Always, Tim Drake. I'm a fan of Tim Drake.
That's your favorite Robin?
I mean, why you want me to say Damian? My favorite Robin. No. My favorite Robin is Jason, obviously, because I like the Gats, but in terms of story, I really like I love the detective. It's very interesting.
Tim Drake is my least favorite Robin.
Yeah, because you want to see rah. Tim Drake not about the hands, he about the thought.
No, not necessarily, because Dick Grayson is my favorite. And then it goes Jason Todd, and then it goes Damian, and then it goes Tim Drake.
But if you like Dick Grayson, just say you like Batman. That's what Dick Grayson is. He Batman.
Nah, so here's my separation from it. Batman believes that he is the only one that can fix stuff. Okay. Dick Grayson, he believes in teamwork, and that's the difference between Batman and him.
That's fair. And also, I'm reading something called Eve, which is really good. That's on Image. Oh no. Let me get some black shit out here. Definitely Calvin from The Antagonist. If you guys ever read The Antagonist, it's about villains who decide to get together and start a family, but they're villains because they're black and they had superpowers and they realized America wasn't for us. And they are villains. Yeah. But their whole thing was they became villains because they was like, America don't fuck with us. And Calvin is a telepath that he kind of works under what their Justice League is, and then he realizes like, oh, this Justice League is fucked up, And so he then begins to do that. Ooh, you know what? The father from Philadelphia, too. If you guys ever read since we talk about black stuff, Philadelphia also is a vampire story set in Philadelphia. And there's been a vampire problem for a long time in Philadelphia, and nobody is really paying attention to it because it's only in the black community. And one of the main characters, he becomes a vampire. He's the father, and he's trying to guide his son to the truth. And it's a heavy story. But yeah, it's definitely excellent.
I want to say I've done 72 interviews, and you gave the most comic book, like, I really fuck with comic books answer. Like, you gave
I didn't say Wonder Woman and Jon Stewart.
Yeah,
I know. I got Jon Stewart cosplaying as Goku over here. It's one of my favorite pieces. I love them too, but like I said, I think it is like we were talking about with anything. You're reading so much, someone becomes your favorite until you read something new, and you're like, "Damn, this is my favorite." You know.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. All right, so we also do what we call recommendations. It could be something that you're reading, you're watching, you're listening to, but something that you think that our viewers and listeners should check out.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go selfishly with what I'm reading right now. Incorruptible, Irredeemable from Image Comics, incredible. If you have not read Invincible, you're bugging. It's one of the best superhero movie series I've ever read. Philadelphia is heavy. If you have daddy issues, do not read that. It will mess with you. But it's really heavy. It's a lot of American history in it, and it's really about the enfranchisement of Black people, which is excellent. And the antagonist is, if you like The Boys, Invincible, if you like that gory, the antagonist is one of my favorite pieces of art that I read. Oh, and Bitterroot. I'm sorry, I can't believe I didn't say Bitterroot. Bitterroot is completed, so you can read the whole thing, and it's also incredible. It's about white people turning into demons because of their hate. Like, hell raises and turns them into fucking demons.
I love
and it's set in like Harlem in the 1920s, and there's a family of demon slayers, and there are Black people who escape from Tulsa. And then we find out there's a new sort of demon that comes from the anger from being lynched, from, the injustices. So they're living, and it is beautifully drawn. They have this big brute on their team who uses these like 5-syllable words that no one ever uses, which I think is a great juxtaposition of what we know.
Okay.
But yeah, those are my choices.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I'll definitely make sure I put in the edit and everything like that, so people can see how it looks and check it out.
Bitterroot just won an award at San Diego Comic-Con too. So
congrats there.
It's up there. Yeah.
Dope, super dope. So where can my people find you at, and what would you like them to support you on?
Yes, Instagram always, y'all. Please give me some love there. I need it. At Fantastic Frankey, Frankey, and that's on all platforms except for Twitter. They won't let me be great. I'm at Fanboy Fighter. If you see my face on anything, please like, share, subscribe, and show your love. That's how I continue to do this work. Particularly when I talk about comics, I talk a lot about pop culture, but that's because that's what does well. If I can get more love on the comic books when I'm recommending and stuff like that, it will definitely give me the avenue to pursue that more.
Awesome. Well, this has been One-on-One with Deuces. I've been your boy Deuces. This has been the amazing, hilarious, fantastic Frankey. Frankey, thank you again for your time, and we are out, everybody. Peace.